This is Heliox, where evidence meets empathy. Independent, moderated, timely, deep, gentle, clinical, global, and community conversations about things that matter. Breathe easy, we go deep and lightly surface the big ideas.
Have you ever maybe paused mid-task? Perhaps you're fumbling with a zipper or trying to recall a friend's name, and you just sort of wonder, is this just me getting older, or is there something more going on?
Yeah.
We often think of our brain health and our physical health as, well, pretty distinct worlds. But what if our everyday movements, even the tiny, precise ones, are actually whispering secrets about our cognitive well-being? Today, we're taking a deep dive into precisely that connection. It's this fascinating intertwined relationship between our physical movements, our motor function, and our cognitive health as we age. And we're going beyond just general observations here. We're unpacking a recent, really insightful study. This research looked at 98 community-dwelling older adults, and it aimed to pinpoint which specific motor functions are the strongest, most independent predictors of cognitive performance when everything is considered together. Think of it like finding the needle in the haystack of physical indicators. We're drawing directly from this study titled Hand Dexterity and Mobility Independently Predict Cognition in Older Adults, a multi-domain regression analysis. It's fascinating, really, how our everyday movements might be these little diagnostic clues. Now, the idea that movement and brain health are linked, well, it isn't entirely new, right? But what does this study add to that picture?
That's true, the connection isn't novel, no. But this research, it really sharpens our focus. What's compelling is the growing body of evidence showing that motor and cognitive functions, they usually decline in parallel. They're not just related. They form this complex, dynamic system. And we're seeing that declines in specific motor functions, like, say, balance or fine motor control, can actually precede measurable drops in cognitive processing speed.
Precede them. So before you might even notice thinking changes.
Potentially, yes. This means that carefully measured motor function could serve as really powerful early physical indicators of cognitive decline. It might even hint at a risk of future dementia. It kind of gives us a potential early window into someone's long-term brain health.
Okay, now this isn't just another study saying, exercise is good for your brain. They used a sophisticated multi-domain regression framework. That sounds like a serious piece of scientific machinery. What exactly does that approach let them uncover about these connections that maybe simpler studies might miss?
Right, and that's a crucial distinction. Many studies look at one motor parameter, maybe how fast someone walks, for instance, and link it to one cognitive outcome. But this research, it took a much broader, integrated approach. They brought together a whole range of motor predictors, everything from the fine control of your hands to intricate gait patterns, and they simultaneously measured these against a comprehensive battery of cognitive tests.
Okay.
The beauty of this multi-domain regression is that it allows them to sort of untangle these relationships, to see which motor indicators remain powerful predictors of cognition even when other motor factors are accounted for.
Ah, I see. Isolating the key players.
Exactly. The goal was to isolate the most robust and independent connections, and the study involved 98 older adults living independently in their communities. Median age was 74. It's also important to know that some participants in this group did have mild cognitive impairment, or MCI,
Right.
which makes the findings particularly relevant for understanding those early changes.
So how did they actually go about measuring all these different aspects? I imagine they needed some pretty precise tools.
They did, yeah. For assessing upper body and hand function, they used tests like the 9-hole peg test, the NHPT.
Okay, I think I know that one. Moving pegs.
That's the one. It's a classic measure of hand dexterity, where you place and remove small pegs as quickly as possible. They also checked grip strength.
Makes sense. And for the lower body, walking and such.
Yep. For lower body movement and walking patterns, they used components from the Short Physical Performance Battery, or SPTB. This included timed tasks like standing up and sitting down 5 times from a chair without using your hands and a short 4-meter walk.
Okay, times mobility.
Exactly. And they also used advanced shoe-worn sensors, these IMUs, to capture very precise gait parameters during walking. Things like how high someone lifts their toes off the ground, minimal toe clearance, and how consistent their steps are, gait variability.
Wow, really getting into the details of the walk.
Very detailed. And then for cognition, they had a comprehensive set of tests. These assessed various mental abilities, memory, problem solving, processing speed, task switching,
Mm-hmm.
the works. These individual results were then combined into overall cognitive scores.
Okay, so after sifting through all that data, all those precise measurements, the sophisticated framework, what really rose to the top? What were the standout findings? What truly predicted cognitive performance?
The results were quite striking, actually. They revealed 3 key independent motor predictors for overall cognitive performance. First, and perhaps most powerfully, was poorer hand dexterity. Specifically, slower times on that 9-hole peg test.
A peg test again.
Yes, this was strongly associated with worse cognitive performance. Second, slower functional mobility, so slower times on those 5 chair rises and the 4-meter walk tests. That also showed a robust link to worse cognition.
Okay, dexterity and timed mobility. What was the third?
The third is a bit counterintuitive, maybe. It was greater minimal toe clearance during walking. This was associated with better cognitive performance.
Wait, lifting your toes higher off the ground was linked to better cognition.
That's right. A greater minimum clearance was a positive sign in this analysis. And what's really fascinating here is the power of these combined findings. This final model, even after considering age and sex, explained over 50.3% to be exact, of the variation in global cognitive performance.
Wow, over half.
That's significant.
It really underscores that deep connection.
It really does.
Okay, let's break that down a bit more. So it wasn't just any movement, but hand dexterity. The kind of precise, coordinated action you see in the 9-hole peg test that emerged as like a cognitive superstar. Why is this specific ability such a powerful window into our brain health?
Precisely. Think of hand dexterity as measured by the NHPT as almost a cognitive stress test. It demands more than just muscle speed. It's a real-time symphony, It requires vision-guiding movement, sustained attention to stay focused on a repetitive task, and cognitive flexibility to adapt your actions.
Well, it sounds complex when you put it like that.
It really is. It taps into multiple higher-order brain functions simultaneously, and that's likely why it was the most robust and consistent motor predictor. It was linked not just to overall cognition, but specifically to things like verbal fluency, associative memory, and even executive processing speed. And if we zoom out a bit, neuroimaging studies actually show that performance on similar pegboard tasks is linked to the structural health of critical information superhighways in the brain, especially those connecting the front and top regions, the frontoparietal white matter tracts. These are essential for both complex movements and higher-level thinking.
Fascinating. Okay, so that's dexterity. What about the functional mobility piece, the chair rises and the short walk? Why were those so important?
Right. So for functional mobility, those 5 chair rises and 4-meter walk tests are significant because they are timed, goal-directed tasks. They're not just steady, automatic walking like you might do on a longer stroll.
Ah, okay. There's a purpose, a start and finish goal.
Exactly. They demand rapid initiation and control, and they heavily rely on executive functions like motor planning and attention. This is likely why they were stronger predictors than, say, just measuring someone's usual comfortable walking speed over a longer distance.
And the toe clearance. Lifting the toes higher being better, that still feels a bit surprising.
It does seem odd at first glance, yeah. But what's fascinating here is that this specific gait parameter, minimal toe clearance, seems highly sensitive to how much your brain is juggling attentional and executive tasks while you're walking.
So the brain's workload affects how you lift your feet.
It appears so. If your brain is working harder on those cognitive functions, perhaps due to some underlying inefficiency, it can subtly change how you manage your toe clearance, maybe leading to lower clearance, more risk of tripping. So higher clearance might indicate better underlying executive function or less cognitive load during walking. It could be an early motor marker of frontal lobe function, a key area for our higher level cognitive abilities.
Wow. Who knew your morning stroll was also a secret cognitive assessment for your frontal lobe?
Kind of, yeah.
It's interesting how we often take these small, everyday movements for granted. I mean, tying your shoes, picking up a pen. This study makes you realize they're not just muscle memory, are they?
Not at all.
Now, given how many factors were analyzed, were there any surprising exclusions? What did the researchers initially expect to find, maybe, that didn't hold up in their rigorous model?
Yeah, that's a crucial point, and it really highlights the strength of this multi-domain approach. Take grip strength, for example.
Right, you hear about grip strength a lot.
You do. It's often studied, and it is often linked to cognition in simpler analyses. But in this comprehensive model, once hand dexterity, that NHPT score, was included. Grip strength was not retained as an independent predictor.
Interesting. Why might that be?
Well, The hypothesis here is that grip strength might be more a general marker of overall muscle health or physical vulnerability, what we call sarcopenia or frailty, rather than a specific indicator of subtle cognitive status, especially when you have more cognitively demanding tasks like the NHPT also in the mix. It might be measuring something slightly different.
Okay, so maybe more about general physical condition than specific brain links in this context.
Potentially, yes. Similarly, balance performance, specifically the extended balance score from the SPPB, didn't make the cut in the final model either. While overall balance is clearly important for function, this study found that static balance, like just holding a single leg stance still, had limited predictive power compared to those dynamic mobility tasks that demand continuous motor and cognitive integration.
So moving and thinking simultaneously tells you more than just holding still.
In this context, it seems so. Moving and thinking together, yes. And then, perhaps surprisingly to some, usual gait speed from a longer 80-meter walk. And general gait variability also didn't end up as significant independent predictors in the final model.
Unlike the short 4-meter walk.
Exactly, unlike that short goal-directed 4-meter walk. For this particular cohort of relatively high-functioning older adults, it suggests that maybe simpler automatic walking tasks might have hit a ceiling effect.
Meaning the test wasn't challenging enough for them.
Right. They might all perform well on an easy task, so it doesn't differentiate based on cognition as well. Or these simpler tasks might just reflect less cognitive load than tasks requiring more focused attention or dual tasking. It really emphasizes that the type of motor assessment matters a lot.
Gotcha. Any other exclusions?
Yes, one more mentioned was a test for apraxia, which involves issues with learned skilled movements. That was eliminated pretty early on in the analysis. While apraxia is certainly linked to dementia later on, in this specific group of generally healthy community-dwelling seniors, it just didn't offer strong, independent predictive power. The researchers mentioned this could be due to several factors, maybe the overall health of the cohort, or even practical testing issues like face masks affecting communication during the screening.
Right. So context matters.
Yeah.
Okay, let's pull this all together. What does this mean for you, the listener, as you navigate information about staying cognitively healthy as we age?
Yeah.
What are the key practical insights to take away from this deep dive?
Well, I think the core takeaway is crystal clear. Hand dexterity, measured by tests like the 9-hole peg test, and specific functional mobility tasks like standing up from a chair quickly or doing a short timed walk, seem to be incredibly strong independent predictors of cognitive health in older adults.
So these aren't just general physical markers.
Exactly. They appear to be accessible, pragmatic tools that effectively tap into higher-order cognitive processes. It's not just about general strength or automatic movements like we discussed. It's about the specific types of motor tasks that engage our brains in a precise, integrated way.
That distinction feels really important.
It is. And regarding demographics, as you might expect, older age was linked to lower cognitive scores. Interestingly, in this specific group, female participants had slightly higher cognitive scores on average, though the authors did note this might just be a quirk of their sample, a sampling bias, perhaps.
Okay.
But importantly, the fundamental link, the relationship between motor performance and cognition that held true for both men and women in the study.
Good to know. And limitations. Every study has them.
Of course. It's always important to remember limitations. This was a cross-sectional study.
Media snapshot in time.
Exactly. So it shows strong associations, but it can't definitively prove that improving your dexterity causes improved cognition or vice versa. It just shows they're linked at that point in time. Also, the participants were relatively high functioning. So these specific findings might not directly apply or might look different in populations who are more frail or have more advanced cognitive issues.
Right, generalizability.
And the motor tasks were mostly assessed individually. Engaging in dual tasks, like walking while talking or doing math problems, might reveal even more subtle interactions between movement and thinking. Future research might explore that more.
This deep dive really makes you think, doesn't it? How every little precise movement, from picking up a pen to navigating a crowded room, might be whispering secrets about our brain health. It's just such a powerful reminder of how truly interconnected our bodies and minds are. Far more than just two separate systems operating independently.
Absolutely. And it really makes you consider if these specific motor tasks, these precise hand movements and timed functional mobility tests are such telling indicators of cognitive health, Well, what implications might that have for early intervention? Could it perhaps inspire personalized exercise programs? Programs designed not just for general physical fitness, but specifically aimed at boosting cognitive longevity through targeted motor training. What active steps, could you take today, drawing inspiration from these findings to consciously nurture both your mobility and your mind? That's something to really mull over.
Thanks for listening today. 4 recurring narratives underlie every episode: boundary dissolution, adaptive complexity, embodied knowledge, and quantum-like uncertainty. These aren't just philosophical musings, but frameworks for understanding our modern world. We hope you continue exploring our other podcasts, responding to the content, and checking out our related articles at helioxpodcast.substack.com.